Wednesday and it's 9. Time for your business to shine with Spotlight on Business.
You can shine, 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 shine. You can shine, 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 shine. Always keep your head up, never stop dreaming. Always keep your faith in what you believe in. Cause busybodies out there and busybodies scheming, plotting and planning to kill all you dreaming. Hoping and praying and consistently steaming, wishing you fall and intentionally meaning. Hoping you slip so they can say that they seen it, to say that they sorry but don't really mean it. I know this is hard and difficult to believe this, but people out there that's trying to achieve this, whether or not you choose to believe this. But I speak the truth cause we really all need this. And I pray the prayer cause I'm not trying to feed this. So turn on the lights so that we can all see this. Take a look in the mirror so you can see what you are, and tell yourself every day that you can shine like a star. You can shine, 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 shine.
And the universe. You're tuned in to Spotlight on Business. I'm your host, Dr. Alonzo Richard Fleming Jr., and I thank you for joining me this morning. I know that you had a lot of things you could have done on this return from our 4th of July weekend, but you chose to tune in right here on WJMG-FM 92.1, as well as www.wjmg. Seems like I got some feedback here, brother. WJMGradio.com, where you can tune in and listen live. Tell your friends to tune in to WJMGradio.com for Spotlight on Business. I want to thank all of you who are listening from Hattiesburg and from around the country. Those of you who have let me know that you are tuned in, I want to thank you for tuning in. As I said, I know you could have done a lot more than just tune in to this particular program, but you decided to join us, and I am grateful for that. Got a few announcements before we get into the program this morning. We're looking for a web developer, and we want someone that we can train. If you know someone that has some Joomla experience or web development experience in programming, they know their way around the internet, then tell them to give me a call at 336, that's 601-336-4283. That's 601-336-4283. It doesn't matter where you are around the country. This industry position has no relevance with respect to who you can do business with. And so if you know someone who's sharp on the internet, has a good eye for art and functionality of websites, we'll train them. We're looking for a web developer with Joomla experience. 336-4283 is the number to call. That's 601 area code. Also, I'm looking for a producer for this program. I mean, it's a lot of work going into this program, and I need a producer, someone to record the clips, the commercial clips for us, and help me with setting up the program for each week. It's a lot of work, and we try to bring you a very good and quality program, but I tell you, it's tough doing it alone. 601-336, again, 4283. That's 601-336-4283. These are paid positions. They're not volunteers. You get paid. 601-336-4283. Also, we want you to, if you have young people who are, especially those that are going into the 10th grade, we want you to get them into the Tabernacle of Prayer ACT Prep program. I'm running that program. We just got our first batch of students who took the ACT, the last ACT test, and we're recruiting or enrolling for the next class. We show you how to get above that typical 18, 19 score that most African American students get. And let's not pretend, we're just not pretending that we're excelling, and we're not pretending that we're doing well on these tests. Even with all the resources that are out there, there's something about our learning style that needs to be addressed, our children's learning style, and we have solved that problem and can give you predictable outcomes. So get involved. Give us a call. Let us know that you want to enroll your young person. School is coming back up, about to start, and we are going to have this ongoing for the school year, and we can show and prove what excellence really looks like. I mean, it's one thing to talk a good game. It's another thing to put up. So this is what we have endeavored to do, to put up so we don't have to shut up. Also, we're doing tutoring. We're tutoring in specifically mathematics and the sciences, the natural sciences, biology, chemistry, physics. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that Albert Einstein, and this goes along with our program this morning, do you know that Albert Einstein was persecuted by J. Edgar Hoover for teaching black men physics? Do you realize that? That there's an interest or interest in keeping many people from being able to think mathematically and scientifically. J. Edgar Hoover discouraged Albert Einstein, who, he was teaching at, I think it was Princeton. I forget exactly the school it was. Yeah. And then Lincoln University was nearby, and Albert Einstein took time to go teach black men physics. And he was discouraged by the U.S. government. What is it about physics and mathematics that some have an interest in keeping our young people from thinking in terms of? So we, again, have decided to address the fact that not only do our minds function mathematically, by nature you are mathematical. I mean, if you don't believe me, the sophisticated mathematics that you already understand, try playing baseball. I mean, just think about the mathematics that go into you standing there at the plate, judging the velocity, the height, the curvature of that ball as it's being pitched to you, judging the amount of force you need to move that mass, which is the bat, at the proper angle, at the proper time to hit the ball in a specific location. You're using physics, and I mean sophisticated mathematics, just by the act of swinging at a baseball. And then you talk about basketball. I mean, I'm still fascinated by the size of that rim and the distance that those gentlemen and the ladies can hit that, shoot that ball into the rim. Takes a lot of sophisticated mathematics. So when you say that you're not good at mathematics, then you think of all the things that you do every day that require sophisticated mathematics and sophisticated science to accomplish. So we're bringing those principles out of the young people. We're showing them that it's already in them. We're not telling them anything. We're just going to show you that it's already in you and how to use it. So again, let me know that you want to get your young person in on this class. We're only taking 25 students per class. That's, again, 601-336-4283. Every Saturday we have the practice test so we can find out what you would score if you were to take the ACT today, and then we show you what you need to do to get that 30, 35, 36 score. USM is only taking, their threshold is 26. Even though they say in their documents that a 19 will get you in, a 19 only gets you considered for admission. What they do is have two piles, those who have a 26 and above and those who have a 24 and below. And so a lot of our young people think all I need is a 19 on the ACT. Not so. That's not true. That's the minimum. And we're tired of the minimum. All right, 601-336-4283. Let's see. Oh yeah, at Shoney's, along that same vein. Shoney's, July 26th. We're going to have a luncheon, and we're going to talk about educating the black male. I mean, last week we dealt with males over the last 4 or 5 weeks, and now today we're going to deal with the females. The ladies, we're going to talk about some of the things that the ladies can do and think that will help develop a sound community. But we're going to have a luncheon, a freebie, by the way. There are only 25 tickets left. You just simply go to HattiesburgParentNetwork.com and you can get one ticket. And we're going to be dealing with educating the black male, gearing up for the school year, and preparing our young people to learn at an accelerated rate, because the competition, ladies and gentlemen, is not taking the summer off in sport and play. The young people that they're going to be competing with around the world and around the country are not taking the summer off in only sport and play. They're preparing, they're gearing up, and you don't get a free pass because you're black. I'm sorry to say that, but it's the truth. You just don't get a free pass because of the color of your skin. The universe is changing the standard. So when you hear me talk about a particular thought system going out, and I'll save that for the program itself, but the universe is removing the standard as skin color as being whether or not you are privileged or not. A new standard is being put in place. So you don't get a pass because you're white, and you're not held back because you're black. So again, go to Hattiesburg Parent Network. That's going to take place on July 26th, that luncheon. And then last but not least, we're calling all men. If you live in the quarters, the East Jerusalem quarters, what we'd like to do is gather up some of these boys who are roaming around with nothing to do. And we see this going on not only in the summer, but primarily in the summer months. We see these young men roaming around with nothing to do. And I did the Just Boys program, and last year. I didn't do it this year because of some other complications, but I still see the need for it. And we just simply can't do it alone. We need the help of concerned men in that community. So if you live in the East Jerusalem quarters, go to the Hattiesburg Parent Network and fill out that form. You'll see a link that says male teachers wanted. Fill out that form and let me know that you like to help in gathering these young men up, because all they're doing is getting into mischief. That's all they're doing, getting into mischief. And you can't, well, let me say it this way. If you want a sound future, you got to have sound thinking in the present. It doesn't happen by luck. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It happens because of sound thinking in present terms. And that's just the bottom line. Now, I set up a spot line that you can call any of the things that I've announced. You can call this spot line at 601-345-4384, 601-345-4384, 601-345-4384, and leave a message if you want to get involved in any of the things I just announced. Or you can email me at Alonzo at WJMG Radio. Man, I'm taking all this time with these announcements. Let me get on through this. Alonzo at WJMGradio.com. Alonzo at WJMGradio.com. Or you can leave a message on the spot line at 601-345-4384. Now, if you want to leave a message regarding the things that I'm saying on this program, because I do read your emails, those of you who have sent me emails, but some of you saying, I don't use email, give me a phone number. So that spot line was set up so you can leave your comments, and what I'll start doing is actually playing your comments. 601-345-4384. Okay, so getting into our program today, we're doing a series entitled The Time and What Must Be Done. And as I said, over the last 10 weeks, was that we noticed when we first started this program, Spotlight on Business, we assumed certain things that simply were not true. And those things that all we needed to do was give to you the information on developing a business community. If we began to explore those procedures to develop a strong and robust business community, that it would be a simple matter of just starting a business and developing trade among ourselves. The problem with that was that the foundation simply isn't there. And so a foundation of thinking to do business with one another has to first be laid before we can see any real commerce among ourselves. It is no accident that Asians do business with Asians but set up enterprises in black communities. Or Arabs do business with Arabs but set up enterprises in black communities. They raise their capital from us and then spend it among themselves. You don't see Arab folk in the stores in our communities shopping. You don't see Asian folk in the stores that they own in our communities shopping. Now, these are some facts that we just simply have to come to terms with. Where are they? Where are all the Asians? Where are all the Arabs? Where do they live? Where do they shop? Who do they do business with? Who do they buy from? They certainly don't buy from us. So we started out thinking that all we needed was some simple steps to begin to do business, and we do business, but that's not the case. There are some mental issues, some psychological issues, barriers that have to be faced. And these barriers have to be faced in a manner not only to just tell us that the barriers are there, but there have to be some way to remove those barriers among ourselves which prevent us from doing business with one another. We believe that the institutions that have been placed among us and are responsible for developing our minds and our thinking, that being the school system, the educational system, the church, the mosque, or whatever religious organization that you happen to be a part of, the government, the social structure and the social order, that the institutions simply have not been able to develop our minds based on our historical perspective, where we're coming from historically. And that's not to give not to put the institutions down. It's simply saying that the institutions need the tools to develop the minds of a people who did not come from the most ideal situation in the first place. So we're addressing it from the standpoint of our own thinking and not from what someone else is doing to us, because that really isn't the case. Whatever we give, we are giving to ourselves. Whatever we experience, it is a reflection of what's in our mind. And so we have to address it at the self level. We have to address our economic ills, if you will, at the self level or from the self level. We have to address our relationships from the level of the self, not from saying you did it or you're responsible. If you say you, we should be looking in the mirror when we do that. So we decided to take the program another direction and come at it from a more of a philosophical, a more principled, mathematical, and scientific level. So today I'm going to start off with addressing the ladies, but let me answer the questions that I had, and I'm going to hit them and go. So if I don't sufficiently answer them, it's because I want to go ahead and get into the program, because I promised you that I would answer the questions that you emailed me. One question came from a gentleman about last week's program. He said he's noticing a change among us. And he asked, don't you need the past to know what to do in the present? And then he asked me, was I at the Million Man March, and wasn't that a Muslim meeting? I mean, it seemed like they're staying on this thing here because I got actually 3 letters about that. But the past, ladies and gentlemen, as you know from previous programs, that the past and the future are the only parts of time that are illusions. They're not real. The past and the future are illusions of time. The only real part of time is the present. The past is something that you perceive happened, an event that you perceived happened in the past. And you can pull up a lot of physical evidence to say this and that occurred in the past. But the fact of the matter is, unless you remember the past, then the past does not exist. Unless you visualize the future does not exist. The only part of time that is real, that you can really function in, is the present. So while we may have a memory of the past, why is it that we don't have a memory of the future? What is it about the future that we don't remember anything? You say, well, how can you remember? The future hasn't come yet. My point is exactly. The past is not here, nor is the future. The only real part of time, the only creative part of time that exists is the present. You cannot create from the past, nor can you create from the future. You can only create in the present. So to answer that question in the quickest and easiest way that I can say, depending on how you use your memory of the past will determine how you create for the future. So you can remember the past and remember it in terms of pain, and you are guaranteed to create pain in the present for the future. So it seems more logical, rather than take the chance on trying to base your thinking on past, which is what we have been doing in many cases, and has done nothing but served up pain, because we're creating pain for the future. Doesn't it make more sense to function in present terms and create a pleasant future? I mean, that's the best answer I can give for that. Otherwise, I'd have to take the whole program again to talk about time. You can go to the WJMGradio.com. I've started to upload the past shows where I explain all that. I have show 1 and show 10 on there. So today I'm probably going to upload a few more so that you will kind of get brought up to speed if this is your first time listening to this program. Regarding me being at the Million Man March, you darn tootin' I was at the Million Man March. Yes, I was at the Million Man March. It was the most life-changing day of my life, October 16th, 1995. Do you know that it was mostly Christians at the Million Man March? Do you know that in the Bible, when Moses called the slaves out of Egypt, the first thing he did was call all the elders together? And they had different sects and different perspectives and different religious beliefs about God in the first place, but they were all slaves. So yes, I was at the Million Man March, and I did take the pledge that was at the Million Man March. Go to YouTube and check out that pledge, and you tell me what part of that pledge you don't like. Okay, but Christianity is what I believe that the God has given me as for my life. So if that's your concern, then that's where it is. The I am. I spoke last week on the power of the I am, and one person asked, isn't the I am reserved for God? Yes, it is. The I am is reserved for God, and that's exactly my point when I tell you to use the I am. Now, you think on that one for a little bit. Then Charles wrote me regarding alcohol. Dr. Fleming, I love the show, listen every week. He said that when a person sees himself as good, he is of God. But Jesus said that there is none good except God. We are not good, we are sinful. And then he gives me a scripture out of the Bible in Mark 10:17-27. I read that scripture, and it's the story of a rich man that came to Jesus, and he said, "Good master, what do I need to do to inherit the kingdom?" And the first thing Jesus said was, "Why are you calling me good? There's none good but God." In that situation, ladies and gentlemen, what was happening was this rich man was trying to buy Jesus by flattering him, making him think that he was separate from God and that he had goodness that was separate from God. And that's why Jesus said, "Why are you calling me good? There's none good but God." Jesus was simply acknowledging his source, not separating himself from being good. His source is the God, the all. And there is none good beside the all or beside God. So he wasn't denouncing the goodness that was in him, because he knew his connection with God, and his connection is the source, and therefore the source is good. There's none good but God. So that's I'll answer that question that way. I'm not talking religion, people, even though you hear me saying God and the universe and spirituality. I'm not talking religion at all. I'm talking science and mathematics. The teachings of Jesus pretty much have been hijacked by the religionists. But Jesus was a scientist. He was not a religious man. He was a spiritual man that had his religious customs. He was designed, and he came for the people in his day that he was designed for. But Jesus was a scientist. And he used scientific principles, and all you have to do is just check out the parables that he told. He used stories that you could understand, so that you could use the principle of correspondence, which we have told you about on this program. The principle of correspondence gives you the ability to reason from the physical to the mental to the spiritual. It's a principle found in the universe. Jesus used it all the time. He even said, the words that I speak, the flesh profits nothing. If you try to understand it from the physical world in terms of the physical world as a cause, you will not understand what he was talking about, nor you understand what I'm talking about. You will simply miss it, because if you base it on the flesh, you're just not going to get it. You got to take it to principle. Okay. I'm not going to have time to read anymore. We're 26 after the hour here on WJMJ, and you're listening to Spotlight on Business. I'm your host, Dr. Fleming. I had a great 4th of July. Heard an awesome sermon yesterday, a historical treatise that was given by Pastor Michael Scott at the Tabernacle of Prayer, Church of God in Christ. An historical treatise on the 4th of July and the condition of the nation. And I want to say, brothers, if you need a church or some help in your spiritual guidance as you release from alcohol, then hey, check this one out, man. 500 Williams Street. It's a really good church. The brother is right there, man. He's right there in tune, built for the time. I mean, he laid it out, an historical treatise on the United States of America and the development of the country with respect to independence and the spiritual condition of the people, and how it was deep. Speaking of that, I had a conversation with my 3 boys the other day. We were talking about the 4th of July, and you know that the only person they know about is Crispus Attucks. And Crispus Attucks, they don't know much about him. So I decided to give a comment on Crispus Attucks, who fought in the Revolutionary War to gain this country's independence. He was not just some black man that wanted to take a bullet. This is the way it's been given to us, that Crispus Attucks ran in front of a bullet so that we could have the bragging rights to say he was the first black man, or the first black man to die in the Revolutionary War, was Crispus Attucks. That's not what happened. Crispus Attucks was a true revolutionary in the truest sense of the word. He had a militia of men, and they had made deals with the colonists that if they were to help free the colonies from the British, then the black man would also be freed from the colonists. And that's why Crispus Attucks and his militia fought in the Revolutionary War. They did not fight just to say, I fought. They fought for the same thing that the colonists fought for, but the only difference was they wanted independence from the colonists. And if you had been at Tabernacle of Prayer yesterday, you would have heard a treatise on this, which would have filled in the blanks of this. But suffice it to say, Crispus Attucks and his militia were not fighting just to say we fought. They were fighting because they wanted independence and the removal of oppression that they were getting by the colonists. And of course, you know the story, they were betrayed, and black folk were kept in slavery as a result. The time and what must be done, as I've already said, that time is the only part of, present is the only part of time that is real. It's the only part of time that you can create in. You can't create in the past because the past doesn't exist, nor can you create in the future because the future is yet to come. But the present you always have. There's a scripture in the Bible that talks about God appointing a time, acts, and boundaries of nations and people. So like I said, you can be functioning. A person can be functioning on the time of someone else because time is not the same for everyone. Time is a variable. It's not a constant. And if this is your first time listening to this program, we're taking it from a scientific view. Time is a variable. It's different for everyone depending on their perception and their position. So you might be functioning in another person's time when it's a different time for you. You see. So when we're talking about the time and what must be done, there are things that have to be thought and things that have to be done in a specific time. There's another saying that goes that there's a time and a season for all things under the sun. And it goes on to list a lot of those things, like a time to be born, a time to die, a time for war, a time for peace, time to gather, a time to cast away. There's a time and a season for all things. You can be doing something in a particular time interval, but it's not the thing for the time. And you will know that it's not the thing for the time because it's not working to get you the results that you want to get. So if you did something in the past, for example, and you did it over and over and over, you know, we like to talk about the civil rights movement, and we continue to use the foundations of the civil rights movement or the principles of the civil rights movement to try to address 21st century issues. And we're seeing that the environment is not configured in a way that we can use those principles as such. So new principles have to be found that are fit for the time we're in. Or else we'll be on the treadmill all the time. We have to find out what is it that we should be thinking and doing in this present time we're in. And I'm using time in terms of an interval of time, a small interval of time, not the purest form of time. So this particular segment, we're going to talk about the power of the female. And we talked about the principle of gender on this program. And we talked about that you must use the principle of gender, that is male and female, that these principles function on all levels. Gender is in everything. Everything has a masculine and a feminine principle to it. Gender manifests on all planes. On all levels, gender, male, female. It is the only way creation can occur. Your thoughts come in pairs. And we call them thought pairs, ladies. And these thoughts come in pairs of male and female, and they're designed to help you create. They actually are the creators. They are the God, the image and likeness of God. Your thought pairs are the image and likeness of God. You must successfully pair whatever you want. You must successfully pair two similar thoughts in the form of male and female in order to get that creation. If you mate a male of one order with a female thought of another order, you will get what's called miscreation. These are the sciences that we have been restricted from learning. And so it sounds foreign to a lot of us. But those who run things know what I'm talking about and understand well the science that I'm revealing to you today. So the key is, and by the way, in our community, I want to say this, and this is not to be self-serving, but we have to learn how to embrace our genius minds. Those people that God put in our midst that have the genius level of thinking to the point that they're way outside the box. We got to stop pushing them away and letting others take our best minds and use them for building their world. We have to learn how to embrace our geniuses and stop shunning those genius minds. And you'll know what they sound like because they don't sound like what's in the box. That's primarily speaking what I'm saying here. And like I said, I'm not trying to be self-serving here. I'm just saying I realize what I'm telling you here regarding your thoughts coming in pairs. And those pairs are male and female. And each male in that thought pair has an energy and an orientation, and each female in that thought pair has an energy and an orientation. This is what's swarming around in your head. And the pair that you take is what you will create. The pair that you take is what you will create in your thinking. But this functions on every single level. On the physical level, the principle of gender manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes higher forms, but the principle is everywhere in the thoughts. And if you can understand this, it's going to throw light on a lot of things that you notice keep coming and reoccurring in your life, and will help you and I to understand how to create what we want, and that which we do not want, we do not mate. You can't mate with just anybody, ladies. You can't give yourself, and that includes your thinking, your body, and your spirit, to just anybody. You got to see and discover the orientation of the mind of that individual, and I'm talking at the physical level here. You have to come to terms and be willing to accept the mental orientation of this individual that you are considering mating with, whether it be partnership in a business situation, partnership in a marital situation, partnership in whatever you describe, even a church or a mosque if you're Muslim, or if you're Buddhist, or whatever your particular religious orientation happens to be. This principle of gender functions on every level. And so it's very important to learn the science of mating. And we all make errors, we all make mistakes, but errors are not to be killed for. Errors are to be corrected. That's the God way of helping us. God does not kill us for our errors. God corrects us. So if we have mated with unsuitable individuals and minds, let me just keep it there, unsuitable minds, it just takes another choice. That's all it is. Not a big deal as such. So we see, ladies, that God, when we talk about God, and I want to clear up some misconceptions, and I know I spent a lot of time on announcements, but I think this lesson is in a bite-sized piece to where I think it's going to wind up to be perfect. We notice in most of the religious genres, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or many of the other genres, Western genres, I should say. Eastern genres, you don't see this. But in Western religious genres, you'll notice that God, or the concept of God, is in the masculine. And it would lead one to think that God is only male. But that wouldn't make sense, would it? Because he can only create from what's in him. But I want to say to you, ladies, that even though you might hear me on over the next few weeks referring to God as he and him, I can just as easily speak in terms of God as her. In fact, I think I will, for the sake of this particular segment, these next few segments, I'm going to refer to God as her. Because it really doesn't matter which word, which term you use, because you are in the image and likeness of God. And if you look in Genesis chapter 1, and even if you look in the Quran, or even if you look in the Kabbalion of the Jews, you will see that all three of these genres talk about God, or talk about the man being in the image and likeness of God, and that man is composed of male and female. So witness stand to reason, using the principle of correspondence, that God is both male and female. How could he create without the same principle that he gives to you to create? You see that? So the masculine term for God is just for convenience. But over the next few weeks, I'm going to use the feminine term and try as best I can to speak of God in feminine terms, call him her, just for the sake of letting you see that there's no big deal about that. So one of the things we're going to do over the next few weeks is ask you the same question in different forms, ladies, because the feminine energy has specific functions. And so according to these functions and the tools that you have as a female, we're going to ask you a question, and we're going to put this question in different forms, but it's going to be the same question. And that question is, would you rather be right or happy? Would you rather be right or happy? And you might say, well, I want to be both of them. Well, who wouldn't want to be right and happy? But because we have a split mind, one of our minds is focused on being right, because our minds have been split due to a thought system that's been placed in your head. It has split the mind between being right and being happy. So while you want to be right and happy, the first thing that has to be done is that gulf in the split mind has to be closed, and you have to be of one mind. So the principles that we are using here in the next several weeks are designed to bring you into one mind. And when you have one mind, it simply means that none of your thoughts fight each other. It means that all of your thoughts, all of your thinking is consistent. And all of your thoughts create from the same function, from the same focus, from the same ground. Remember the story that I've been telling over the last few weeks about this man who planted this field? This was a parable about this man who planted a field, and in this field he planted wheat. And there were those who were put over this field to watch and groom this field. They are the institutions. They represent the institutions. The field represents your mind, and the wheat represents the thoughts, the good thoughts that are in your mind. But then the story goes on, and he talks about how that the people or the individuals who were charged with watching over and grooming the field or your mind were put to sleep, and while they slept, an enemy came in and planted tares or weeds in the same field or in the same mind. And these weeds fought. They fought against the wheat that was put in the field. They fought them. And this represents your thinking, split thinking. Your thoughts are fighting each other. And when your thoughts are fighting each other, you produce chaos, ladies. And that's all you produce is chaos. When the mind is split, chaos comes from the female. When the mind is split, nothing comes from the male. The male cannot produce anything when his mind is split. When the female's mind is split, because she is the manifester, she produces chaos. Because the female energy has a multiplicity of laws at her disposal. I mean, you have an infinite number of laws at your disposal because you are the manifester. You bring that which is hidden into the light. You are the manifester. So it takes a lot of laws for you to function. But if your mind has been split, like the story of the wheats and the tares, then somebody has to come with the strength and the ability and the foresight, or I should say insight, to rip up, first recognize the difference between the wheat and the tares, and then rip up the tares and pull them out of your field or out of your mind. Now, our communities are like the female. Our communities are like the female, but everybody gets access to our community, access to our woman, if you will, and are able to come in and impregnate our woman, brothers. And the reason that everybody's able to do that is because the men have been put to sleep. And I went through a whole 4 weeks, a whole month, talking about the alcohol and how alcohol puts the men to sleep. And while men slept, an enemy came in and planted tares. So this is what's happening as a result of the men charged with oversight have been put to sleep by the alcohol, and the women are now exposed in our community, which is modeled after a female, is exposed to impregnation by any and everybody who want to bring in any and everything they want to bring in. A friend of mine the other day, he said, he came over to my house and he said, Doc, you got to see this. And he showed me on his phone these strange looking bugs, organisms that he had taken pictures of that was in a canal coming from one side of town, coming into our side of town. And I had never seen these type of organisms, but it was coming through sewage lines. This stuff is coming into our communities and nobody's saying anything about it. So I took it to the news media and haven't heard anything back from them yet. But we want to know, what is that coming through that canal? What are those? What is that growth from that sewage coming right there into our communities, into the quarters from across town? So when your men have been put to sleep, then you are exposed to any and every thought, any and every scheme that anybody wants to bring into the community. So I use that as the community, but I'm talking about your mind is that same field. And when that mind is split, ladies, it is insane. It is chaotic. There is no consistency in the thoughts when the mind is split. And because you have access to so many physical laws of manifestation, when you bring chaos, you wreak hell on everything. And I'm not doing this to put you down. I'm just saying this is talking about your power. That's what I'm talking about, your power. So, in order to hide your power and what you really are, then the only thing that has to be done is to make you keep from looking where your real power is and make you look someplace else. Your real power is within the self, ladies. It's within you. And Jesus said it this way. The preachers of his day came to him in a cynical situation, and they asked him, "Where's this kingdom you always talking about?" And he said to them, "Listen, don't look here, don't look there, for behold, the kingdom of heaven is within you." Or the kingdom represents laws. when you say kingdom, when you say my kingdom, you're talking about a body of law. So the body of laws that give you the power to manifest, ladies, are in you. If you think that they are outside of you, you are functioning in the role of the male and projecting onto the world a miscreation and chaos. See, the male's function is projection. The female's function is manifestation. But the projection function is, if the female tries to use the projection function from her female energy, and I know I'm sounding very esoteric, but this is what we need to hear. We need to hear something that's more than just amen and God bless. But the female, if she tries to function at the level of the male using projection, she will create or manifest chaos and only chaos. So now, here are some of the orientations that are at your disposal as a female. Here are some of the energies that you have access to as a female that give you the power to function in the community, in the business world, in your family, in your schools, in the politics, from the standpoint of your power. Would you rather be happy or right? Wisdom is a feminine energy. Wisdom is a feminine energy. It has the female orientation to it. And wisdom connects with knowledge, which is a masculine energy. Knowledge and wisdom creates. But the wisdom is the feminine energy of that male and female creative thought. And if you don't believe me, Jesus was talking about the people, how they were miscreating in his day. And he said, you know, we've done all this to try to get you to understand what we're talking about, but you have not listened. We've jumped on top of cars. We've waved our hands. We've gotten on the radio, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you have not listened. But wisdom is known by her children. In other words, the manifester is the feminine, and wisdom is known by wisdom's children. Wisdom is a female, a feminine energy. And it connects with its counterpart of knowledge. Now, knowledge without wisdom is just as dangerous as wisdom without knowledge. Faith is a feminine energy. And the masculine counterpart for faith is belief. Faith, again, let faith have her perfect work. Faith is a feminine energy, and faith is a law. Faith is, check this out. Now, I know that y'all know the Bible, and I know that you all are quoting Hebrews 11, but I'm not going to quote that. I'm going to quote the scientific dictionary. Tell you what faith is. Do you know that faith is the underlying law that gives manifestation to all the physical world? That's in a scientific dictionary that I read in my undergraduate years when I was in rebellion against my grandfather and my father. You know, I didn't want to be a preacher, and I don't want to be a preacher now. But in my rebellion, I went to college to study science because I was in rebellion. And that question came to my mind one day, and I decided to go look it up. Is the term faith in the scientific dictionary? And I discovered that faith is the physical laws that give manifestation. Faith is the underlying law that give manifestation to all the physical world. So you see, ladies, you are the manifester. And your manifesting law is faith. And you partner with belief. You cannot manifest simply from belief, nor can you manifest simply from faith. But faith is the counterpart to belief. And it's important that you understand the distinction between faith and belief here. Faith is the substance. It's the real thing that brings the manifestation. Belief is not necessarily right. Belief can be in conjunction with faith, in harmony with faith, or it can be in opposition to faith. For example, the law of gravity. You can believe all you want that if you jump off a tall building, you're going to go up instead of down, instead of towards the earth. I don't care how many thank you Jesuses you do. I don't care how many Allah Akbars you do. I do not care how many praise the Lords or Allah is great you do, Assalamu Alaikums you do. You are going to accelerate towards the ground at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared. No, it doesn't matter what you believe. Your belief is in opposition to faith, which is the guiding law in that principle, in that scenario, I should say. But by the same token, you can say, I believe that I'm going to go towards the ground if I jump off this building, so let me get myself a jetpack and work in harmony with faith. So now here your belief and your faith are mating, and you're able to fly or able to continue to, you won't fall at 9.8 meters per second. But faith is always working. But faith is the feminine energy, and belief is the masculine energy. Let me see here. You have as part, and this is the foundational stuff we're laying here. So as we go on in this series, I'm going to kind of straighten out some things that I'm saying here. But as part of your mind, ladies, and our minds, but I'm talking specifically of the female-oriented mind, it has 3 compartments, if you will. You have the rational mind, which is the mind you use every day to make sound decisions, and it's always right because it's based in faith. The rational mind is never wrong. It is always right. Then you have the reactive mind, and the reactive mind is the part of your mind that picks up your memories when you are in pain. All of your painful thinking goes to the reactive mind, the reactive part of the mind, and it has an energy to it. Your painful thoughts, your painful experiences have an energy, a physical energy to it. And this physical energy, this thought with this physical energy attached to it, is stored in the reactive mind. And when you come into similar situations that you happen to be in that call on those particular thoughts, the rational mind shuts down and the reactive mind takes over, and you make decisions based on the reactive mind, which always destroy. It always destroys. The rational mind always builds, and the rational and the reactive mind always destroy. Then you have the somatic mind. And this is the part of your mind that actually causes you to affect the body. This is the part that makes the body does what it does. But I want to focus primarily on the reactive mind for the balance of this show. Because we have a lot of pain in us, historical pain. Now here's how you use history. Because we have a lot of historical pain in us, ladies, the scenarios of life tend to keep the reactive mind stimulated. And when the reactive mind is stimulated to such a degree, then the only thing that can be created is destructive manifestations. And if someone comes along and brings something that shows you it works, because you're functioning from the reactive mind, you destroy it because that thing is not in harmony with what you already think. You see this? I can do better with this explanation, and God willing, I'm going to come back to this next week. But when you have a community that's totally functioning out of the reactive mind, then you will discover that complete destruction and chaos is occurring, and it doesn't matter if you have a few here or a few there doing well. Because the community is functioning on the reactive mind, you have chaos and insanity. We'll pick this back up next week. I'm Dr. Fleming, and thank you for listening to Spotlight on Business. But I want you to know that it's necessary that we understand what's happening. We understand that because we are basing things on a historical perspective, that, say, for example, a good man come in your life. A good man come in your life, and he does everything that he's supposed to be doing. And he just a little bit does something a little bit similar to somebody who hurt you a lot. You'll know that you were in a reactive mind when you treat him like you treated the last guy. I'll be back next week.
Tune in to Spotlight on Business every Monday from 9 to 10 and spotlight your business once again.
Busybody scheming, plotting and planning to kill all you dreaming, hoping and praying and consistently scheming, wishing you falling, intentionally leaning, hoping you slip so they can say that they seen it, to say that they sorry but don't really mean it. I know this is hard and difficult to believe this, but people out there that's trying to achieve this, whether or not you choose to believe this, but I speak the truth cause we really all need this, and I pray the prayer cause I'm not trying to feed this. Turn on the lights so that we can all see this. Take a look in the mirror so you can see what you are, and take yourself every day that you can